Alright, today we're going to be looking at multiplying decimals. Let's do a quick review. So multiplying decimals is the same as it's been for multiplying integers and multiplying fractions. The signs of the factors are the same. Then the product is always positive. So for example, a positive plus a positive is going to be positive, and a negative times a negative is also going to be a positive. And if the signs of the factors are different, then the product is going to be negative. So positive times a negative is a negative, and a negative times a positive is also a negative. So our first example is 2 times negative 51 hundredths. Now unlike when we are adding or subtracting, we don't have to worry about lining up decimals. So here I'm going to take my 51 hundredths and I'm going to multiply it by 2. Now notice I'm not even going to worry about my negative sign. I'm going to take care of that at the end. 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 5 is 10, 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. Now to determine where the decimal point goes, I'm simply going to count the number of digits that are behind the decimal point. In this case we have the 1 and the 5 in our factors. There's 2. So in my answer there's going to be 2 digits in our decimal point, so it's going to go right there. So our final answer is going to be 1 and 2 hundredths. Because it's a positive times a negative, it's a negative 1 and 2 hundredths. So let's look at another example. So once again, I'm not going to worry about my negative signs. So I have 3 and 75 hundredths, and I'm going to multiply it by 4 tenths. Once again here, notice I did not line up my decimal points. I don't have to when I'm multiplying. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 7 is 28, plus 2 is 30. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 3 is 15. Now to determine where our decimal point goes, I'm going to count the number of digits that we have behind the decimal point. In this case there's 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So it's going to go right between the 1 and the 5. And actually I can just write my answer that way. Now both of these were negative, so it's a negative times a negative, so our answer is going to be positive. So positive 1 and 5 tenths. And just a reminder, you can drop zeros after the decimal points if they come at the end of the decimal and it doesn't change the value. Now it's your turn. Why don't you pause the video and try these two out on your own just to check to see how you're doing. So our first one, we have 3 and 1/10. I'm going to multiply it by 28 hundredths. So 8 times 1 is 8, 8 times 3 is 24, we're going to put in the 0 placeholder, 2 times 1 is 2, times 3 is 6, I'm going to add these up, so we have 8, 6, and 8. Now I'm going to count, I have 1, 2, 3 digits behind the decimal point in my factors, so it's going to go 1, 2, 3. So our final answer is going to be 0 and 868 thousandths, and it's going to be a positive because we're multiplying two positive numbers. Now if I take 2 and 53 hundredths and I multiply it by 4 tenths, 4 times 3 is 12, 4 times 5 is 20, plus 1 is 21, 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10, 1, 2, 3 digits behind the decimal point, 1, 2, 3, so our final answer is going to be 1 and 12 hundredths, and once again it's going to be a positive, because we're multiplying two negative numbers.